Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dan McCormick. Must be Wisdom Wednesday on the Greatest Salesman podcast. My name is Dan McCormick from sunny Southern California. He is Dr. Luis Arriaza, my guest today. It is going to be a whole lot of fun wherever you may be joining us from today. If you're live with us, we do take your comments on the air, and our producer will put them up on the screen. And we're live on Facebook and YouTube. If you're new to us, you know you can go to thegreatestsalesman.com to catch all of the podcasts, or of course hit the video tab on the Facebook icon and you can see all the shows there. We love it when you like the show, when you comment on the show, when you review the show, when you share the show, all those fun things, because the greatest salesman in the world every single week all started literally 50 plus years ago when this unbelievable man named Og Mandino, I love it. We got the same one going. There we go. Og Mandino, this amazing writer, this philosopher, this man that just loved everybody. He had a unique way of living, teaching, speaking, the way he treated people. It was just fantastic. His book sold tens of millions of copies. And as the ambassador to the Og Mandino Company, it is my honor every single week to welcome people in. And with this now, Luis, is episode number 29. I was so fired up by the introduction to you from your good friend, Tom Chenault and Adrian Chenault. It was like we got off the podcast and we were in the post-podcast studio. And they said, do you know Dr. Luis? And I said, no. And they said, oh my gosh, you guys are meant for each other. You got to have him on your show. And so that's when you and I connected. And it's just great to welcome you in. How are you today?
I am wonderful, blessed, highly favored. And Dan, I want to just thank you so much. You know, my mentor told me this 27 years ago. He said, you never know how far reaching what you may say, think, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. It's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. Get the big idea and all else will follow. And I just really appreciate you for just showcasing the big idea for so many people. You know, we don't know who gets on. We don't know what state of mind they're in. We don't know what economical situation they're in. We don't know what they're going through. But the power of the spoken word, one word that you give, one thought, one idea can radically change people's lives. And I just give you so much appreciation and love for that, because especially during these times, we need it. We need it dramatically. So thank you for the honor of having me on. And of course, thank you to my mentor, my guru, my guide, Mr. Tom Chenault, that talk about being a servant. I mean, he is a servant to the servants. That man, you know, sometimes, you know, you don't know, you know, as the Bible says, you know, a great person is not welcome in his own town, right? So, yeah. And, you know, we have him in our hometown, in our company, but when he's out of our company and I'm walking some hotels with him and we're in a different type of environment in our industry, he's truly an icon. And so I love him. I appreciate him, but I'm very excited. I've been contemplating this moment for a few weeks now. So thank you for having me on.
So great. You can see our producer putting up all the people are joining us from Scotland to Canada.
Right.
All over the place. Chicago's here and Reno's here. It's just great to have everybody. And, you know, Luis, what I love to do when I start the show from the standpoint of a value proposition for all of our listeners, I love to just ask our guests, are there three things that kind of come to mind for you that shape your life or each and every day of your life?
Absolutely. The first one is obvious. Is God. You know, I was, my parents migrated to this country 60 years ago from a very, very small country in Central America. My mom only attained the fifth grade education. Wow. My dad attained the sixth grade education. So when they came here, they were looking for a better life. You know, they were looking for what they call the American dream. Yeah. And then when they landed here, you live in Southern California, so you know what, you can appreciate this. My parents landed in one of the most beautiful parts of sunny Southern California called South Central Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And it was a very, very, very difficult upbringing. I saw things that I shouldn't have seen. I heard things that I shouldn't have heard. I experienced things that I shouldn't have experienced. I wouldn't exchange my upbringing for anything, but I definitely, you know, at a very young age, I knew there had to be something better. I knew there had to be a better way of living. You know, my parents struggled financially. My father was a functional alcoholic. In our household, every day is a glorious day. Every day is a beautiful day. When I was growing up, my worst day was Friday, because I knew my dad was going to come home and he was going to drink from Friday evening to Sunday morning, and he'll sleep all Saturday, all Sunday, and then he never missed a day of work, which was really, really interesting. And I know, we take care of him. My dad loves me, but it's just, we function from our paradigms. We function from our programs. So when I decided to become a chiropractor and I graduated as a chiropractor, I had the educational knowledge, right? But I didn't have the innate wisdom to succeed. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I didn't know what it was to be prosperous. So a long way to answer your question is, Second in God was my mentor. I've been mentored for 28 years. I'm 52 years old, and for the last 28 years, I've been mentored. It's my first call every morning, and it's my last call every evening. And what I've done, which is very, very different than a lot of people, is I did everything my mentors asked me to do. So my mentor, at a very young age, at the age of 24, he taught me the philosophy, science, and art of a great life. He taught me the philosophy, science, and art of prosperity. He taught me the philosophy, science, and art of having a happy marriage. He taught me the philosophy, science, and art. And I didn't understand what that was at first, until I saw tremendous results. And so the first thing is God. Second thing is my mentor. And the third thing is when I started seeing some really supernatural results in my life, and I asked him, I said, how did I go from here to here in such a short period of time? He said, you now have a philosophy. And I said, well, what's a philosophy? He said, it's a way of thinking. So for the last 28 years, Dan, I have really been aware of my thoughts. I've been aware of my thought process. And those three things, I think, have been very pivotal in shaping my life. The love I have for God, my experience with mentorships and being mentored for 28 years. And of course, me just delving into the whole science of neuroplasticity and thoughts. And above all that, second to God, is my mate, is my wife, is my gorgeous queen, Evelia, who, we do everything from business to pleasure to everything together. And I'll tell you, she is my greatest blessing on earth. So those elements are the elements that have allowed me, this young kid from South Central Los Angeles, to have a pretty spectacular life.
Wow. It says a lot about you because you validate that with your cover photo, I believe, on your Facebook page. You and your wife, I think, embracing, kissing, hugging, the whole thing. And to be able to speak that highly of your wife is awesome. I think it says a lot about how people really think about life, people, humanity, valuing all of the things that go with the things you said, God, mentor, and a way of thinking. So I always love it. I hope everybody loves it, because every week I love to start off with that question and then tie it in to say, okay, you had all this going on. And I remember that first phone call, and maybe we were messaging on Facebook, and you said, I love Og Mandino. And I say, do you remember when you first were given? I know you and I talked about your library and the books, and you've got them behind you. I've got them behind me. They're so valuable to us. They're like our best friends, right? And I just wonder, what was it like when it was first put in your hand, and how did it feel?
I am an avid reader. And so, I was looking through my part of the reason why and I'm gonna be very honest, part of the reason why I bought these books is because they were so inexpensive.
Yeah.
They're like $7.99, right? And this book, this is the Mecca right here for me. Wow. At least this is the Mecca. So the first time I read the book, one thing that I saw about the Og Mandino and all his writings, it was just a beautiful way he interwove his spiritual beliefs with a story, right? People may not remember technique, but people will always remember a story. And I just loved the way he painted the story on this beautiful canvas. And you just felt so engulfed with his message, and the way he would just carry you and navigate you through his stories. And what I really loved, and this is just a style of teaching that I have, is I love how he broke things down into steps or into scrolls. So I remember I was like 24, 25 years old. It was one of the first books I read this. I read Think and Grow Rich, and I read Wallace Wattles, the Science of Getting Rich, right? And just some iconic books. But I love this book because I was able to read and reread and reread as it asks you to do, and reread and reread, and the repetition's the mother of skill and success. So just kept reading the scrolls and reading the scrolls and reading the scrolls and reading the scrolls. The reason why this was so effective in my life is because the simplicity of the scrolls, I was able to repeat it over and over and over and over and reprogram my DNA. So I was able to read it over and over and over. And as I started to implement these scrolls, right, and I started to see results, and I started to really get emotional about it, really add that thoughts are the language of the mind and feelings are the language of the body. Once I started to add the feelings to my thoughts based on what I had read, and I started seeing results, then I knew that at that moment I was becoming a different individual. I knew at that moment the old me was departing, and the new me was coming on, and I could see it, and the results were giving me evidence that this was real. So I remember I was like 24, 25 years old. I would take this into my chiropractic office, my first chiropractic office. Is silly me. I would actually sit with my patients and read scrolls to my patients, not knowing,
Wow.
I didn't have a lot of patients at the time. It quickly grew, but I would just carry this with me all the time. I mean, you can see how tethered the books are. I would just carry them with me all the time. In my first 2-3 years in chiropractic business, and my first 2-3 years as a mentee being mentored, this was second to the Bible. This was one of the books that I read almost every single day.
That's so fabulous to hear people's stories about it. For me, it was like, I wasn't a reader. I mean, I was horrible in school, and I love what you said here about how you read it to your patients. And I think that's so fantastic. And the canvas that he paints from is just so beautiful. So let's kind of jump from, how did you go from being a chiropractor? Chiropractors are passionate people about health. They love their patients. Obviously, it's a business that can be fruitful. Where did the transition come for you to become a leader in the direct selling industry? When did you start that transition?
Sure. So, at the age of 8, I told my mom that I didn't want to be poor anymore, right? Because just like I said earlier, a lot of challenges when I was young, and my mom didn't know what to say. So we were walking through the city, through the downtown Los Angeles back in the day. This is 42 years ago, and she stopped a man, tall. I clearly remember him, a handsome American man, blonde hair, blue eyes. And in her broken English, she said, we came here from another country, and we want to know, my son wants to know. She said, I'm poor. She said, I'm poor. My son wants to know, how can he not be poor when he grows up? So the man very quickly, without giving it much thought, he said, education. He said, education is the key to success. And all I heard was education. So I quickly associated that with school. So I fell in love with learning, and I went to school, and I did well. There was a moment that I didn't do well. I can give you that story in just a little bit, but I did well. And I met this chiropractor who gave me the first chiropractic book, The Philosophy, Science, and Art of Chiropractic, when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And I read it, and I didn't understand any of it. And I read it, and I got into the program. I was the second youngest doctor to enter the program. I was only 19 years old. I graduated at 24. And I remember when I graduated, I was so much in debt, and that's why I was seeking a mentor. I was seeking help. So after about 3 years in practice, my wife and I did very, very well. We had opened 7 health centers. I quickly learned the difference between being a propreneur and being an entrepreneur, right? There's a gentleman by the name of Michael Gerberth who wrote this book called The EMyth back in the day. And I thought I was an entrepreneur because I was opening multiple offices. But when my wife and I went on vacation and I came back and 25-30% of my patient load had decreased, I thought, well, I can't be a slave to my own business. But I realized at the moment that I was a propreneur, I was working in my business. I wasn't working on my business. Yes. And then something amazing happened as I learned the difference, and I started to make my practices more technical and less personal. That's because at first it was all my personality. Then I started to institute a system into my practice. Something phenomenal happened. something miraculous happened. And that's something, his name is Fabian Arriaza. My first son was born. And I had made a commitment to myself that I was going to be a father that was going to be present in the lives of my boys. I have 3 beautiful boys. And so at that moment, I just felt as if God pulled this desire to be in my office for 70, 80 hours. He just pulled it out of me. But we were already having a beautiful life. We had, we were probably doing about over $2 million in business per year. And just, it was amazing. But we were both putting in 70, 80 hours a week. And at that moment, I was at a hotel in Baldwin Park, California. I think it's called the Sheraton, the Courtyard Marriott in Baldwin Park, California. And I walked out of a dinner, and right there, and this is true story, there was a beautiful Rolls Royce. And I said to myself, who would be driving a Rolls Royce in Baldwin Park, California? I said, you don't see Rolls Royces in Baldwin Park, California. So then I remember what my mentor said. He said, every person has 4 thoughts in their lifetime that if acted upon them would make them wealthy. The challenge is that most people don't act upon their thoughts. So then I put my things in my car. I went back. I went to the front desk. I said, who owns that car out there? She said, oh, he's there. He's giving a seminar. At that time, I was in the seminar business because I was opening multiple offices. So we were doing a lot of seminars for chiropractors. So I walked in and I sat in the back. I didn't know that it was a network marketing presentation. I was completely oblivious to this. I was 30 years old. I had never, ever touched the space of multi-level marketing. And I sat in the back and I saw this Asian man, and he had the most amazing story. It was so captivating. So at the end, I approached him. I said, hi. I said, my name is Dr. Lewis. I said, could I possibly, speak for your organization? I didn't even know what it was. And he looked at me kind of bewildered, and he said, sure, here's my card. Call me back. So I proceeded to call him. I made an appointment. I didn't know what I was getting into. And it was supposed to be a 2-hour appointment. I remember it was a Thursday at 11 o'clock. I walked into his office in the city of Industry at 11 a.m. And I walked out of that office at about 8 p.m., 9 hours later. And I walked out thinking my life has just turned upside down. Like, what I just heard is what I want. I hadn't purchased anything. I hadn't tried anything. He didn't pitch me. He didn't show me a lot of numbers. He gave me a different philosophy. Wow. See, I'm telling you, if people would only understand that the Alpha and the Omega is your philosophy, it's the way of thinking, it's a search for knowledge, it's the love of wisdom. So I came home, I said, I said, we're going to try network marketing. We're like, okay, what's network marketing? And so we started to dabble in it. And I remember our first check in our first company was $54. And we were so excited because we're like, oh, this thing works. This is incredible, right? Because we started hearing things that how people referred to the space. And we're like, oh, this is great. And the only thing that we were focusing on was our time. Our quality of life with our son at that moment. And we said, gosh, if we could become professionals at this, if we could master this, like we've mastered chiropractic, if we can master this, then maybe we can turn this into a profession. Because once we kind of got involved into the space, I saw all the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And between the bad and the ugly, there were a lot of common threads. There were a lot of people that dabbled in it, a lot of people that only saw it as a hobby. But there was very little systems, there was very little training, and there was absolutely no leadership with the people that I had spoken to. So I said, well, let's put a system together. And thus we decided to put a system together. And here we are 21 years later using the exact same system that we created 21 years ago. And we were able to duplicate our income with 7 offices, but, working from home, traveling with our kids. And, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys know the story. But we did do something different, though. We approached it as a profession. We didn't approach it as any other way. This network marketing to me is a profession. Right now I'm working on a leadership, which takes you from the profession to the expert, to the genius, to the master. And it's based on that math, the 10,000 rule, to become a master of anything in your life. So I'm really introducing people into the idea of really being a student of network marketing for the next 6-7 years to really master the core principles so they can have a great life.
You gave me so many follow-up questions to hit on. If you joined us late, Veronica, Singapore, hello. Good to have everybody, no matter where you're joining us from. But you mentioned that incredible book that I don't think everybody's read, but it is a masterpiece, and that's Michael Gerber. When you talk about the EMyth or the EMyth Revisited, go back, if you will, because most of the people that will watch the show come from the direct selling space. They're sales, they're entrepreneurs. But again, working on your business versus in your business, systematizing your life and business. Give us some ideas of how that evolved for you, what it means to maybe some of the new people that are watching.
So I just, as I said, I had lunch with a good friend of mine, and we were talking about a church in this area who is in the process of, they're selling the church. And this is not the main reason, but one of the variables is that the head pastor is like this world-renowned speaker. I mean, this man is anointed, but he retired and his son came in. His son is very good. He's just not dad. And dad, his personality would fill a stadium, right? So it was a very personal church, but there wasn't a lot of duplication. So when dad left, the son, although the son can stand on his own merit, but it just wasn't the same. A lot of people came to see dad, right? Versus another church that we go to, where the pastor, right after the service, he would get in his car and he would jet. And I would always wonder, why doesn't he stand around and hug the kids and greet the people, come the congregation? And one time he said, because I want you to come for the word of God. I don't want you to come for the man. He says, don't fall in love with the man, fall in love with the word. So I took that same approach to our business, because in business, for us, one key core element is freedom, right? And even in network marketing, if things that we do are not duplicatable, then you're decreasing the possibility of ultimate freedom. Nothing that I do in my organization everything that I do is duplicatable. Yeah. I don't do anything because I have the gift of speaking. I don't do anything because, I'm a good closer. No, everything is duplicatable. So what we did was we created a system based on 5 pillars, very generic system based on 5 pillars. And can I share the 5 pillars real quick?
Please go ahead. Love it.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's the invitation, edification, presentation, meeting conduct, and 48-hour rule. It's very simple. 5 simple pillars, right? Invitation has 6 points. And what we dedicated ourselves to was to train it over and over and over and over and over. We have a training center about 7 minutes from our home. Beautiful 6,000 square foot building, and just trained it over and over and over and over and over at our big presentations. I'd get these, people that are new into the business. I say, okay, you're going to do the front half. You're going to be the MC. You're going to do the product. I'm going to do the close. Oh no, but I'm scared. I said, that's part of the process. You must laugh in the face of adversity, like Ogmandino says. I said, that's part of the process. There's no other way. There's no way to become great. There's no way to master something unless there's some challenges, right? So we have to reconnect what challenge and fear and pain mean. We have to reconnect those associations. So here we are 21 years later, 22 years later, and COVID, and I say this very respectfully and very, very carefully, but COVID has accelerated our duplication. So now we have women and men who are 50 and 60 who before didn't even know what Zoom was, right? What these platforms were, doing their own presentations. So we've taken our work of 80 hours a week and consolidated it to maybe about 10 to 15 hours. And now we focus almost primarily on leadership.
Love it. Oh my goodness. Everybody, if you're joining us late, my name is Dan McCormick, the Greatest Salesman podcast. We're live. Dr. Luis Arriaza is our guest today. He is gone from growing up on first of all, I got to come back to your mom for a minute, because your mom did something brilliant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's my word of the year. She asked. Yep. My word is ask. I mean, James 1:5, right? Let them ask.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
your mother looks up at this blonde, attractive, healthy American man. I think you described him as handsome.
Mm-hmm.
And said, we don't want to live in,
Poverty.
in poverty. And so there's no honor in poverty, right? I mean, we know that there's, as one of my upline says, that best way to help the poor is not be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you obviously your mom did something so great for you. And I want to always acknowledge, because that's the one of the commandments that has something tied to it. Long life, honor your mother and father. It's a hard thing to do. That's the origin of the word honor. But I want to go back to Veronica here. Mind repeating the 5 pillars, please. I've got invitation, edification. Number 3 is?
Sure. There's invitation, edification, presentation, meeting conduct, and the 48-hour rule. So the 48-hour rule, if I can just touch the base a little bit on this, it doesn't matter what product you're selling, it doesn't matter what service you're selling. Never, ever, 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 ever hook yourself emotionally on the initial commission. Never. Because the initial commission really is like acquiring a girl's phone number, right? Just, okay, you got their phone number. What does that mean? Now you're going to call them, maybe take them out for coffee, then maybe a date. Then the relationship starts to build. So many people, so many network marketers that are not trained, right? So many network marketers aren't trained. They make the sale and they never see the person again. And that gives our industry a black eye, because I can't, as you again, preach to the choir. How many times do I sit with people and they're like, oh, are you going to sell me something and never call me again, right? Am I going to have a box of stuff that I don't know how to use? So for us, the 48-hour rule means that within 48 hours, you must give them a systematic approach on 1, how to use the product, 2, connect to the system, and 3, get their money back.
Yes.
If everyone gets their money back, then you're fine.
Yes.
So they got the product, they got the money back. Great, right? That's it. You've done your job. So that's the 48-hour rule. And then of course, once they're a little bit interested, then we teach them the 6 points to the invitation. And they're very simple. It's connection, right? Seek to understand before being understood. Don't sell what you have. Always look to find out what they need. 2 is you got to get their why, you got to get their action motivator. 3 is you must emotionalize it. You must emotionalize it. You must emotionalize it. 4 is you must get the appointment, you must edify, then get the appointment, and then cement the appointment. And once you master those 6 points, then we do the rest. Because for the first 30, 60 days, you're the inviter and we present. You invite, we present. You invite, we present. You invite, we present. And after the presentation, then we always do a debrief. Okay, so what did you see? What did you think? Where do you see and we do that about 4 or 5 times. Then they present and we're just kind of observing until boom, they're on their own.
Love it. Wow. It's going to be a lot of fun to re-listen, add to my notes, and listen. I really love the 48-hour rule, because, when Stephen Covey, my wife had Stephen Covey as a professor in college, and not only did he want you to learn, but then try and then do. If you know you're going to be somebody watching the show here today, it's one thing, but if everybody was charged with the idea to teach the things that you've already shared, they'd be taking notes at a different level, right? And if you had to teach it in the next 48 hours, they're going to learn it and internalize it at a greater level. And this is all of the things that Og taught us in just that repetition is the mother of skill thing, right? I mean, here's a guy coming from alcoholism, facing his own words. Life was a living hell for 10 years. And lo and behold, he turns into this guy, and you turn into this guy that has this incredible abundance mentality, as our friend Wally Wattles would say, from the Financial Success or Science of Getting Rich. And 1907, here's Wally Wattles writing about the science of getting rich. It's a fascinating thing.
Incredible.
To look back at that time. And now I can't wait to re-listen. So before we go too much further, if anybody's late to the show, we welcome you. We're already 30 minutes in. Oh my goodness.
Already?
We go, it's crazy. It's crazy. We go always, it's just every week we get to do this. And so on behalf of the Og Mandino Company, let me just share with you why we're so excited, because people are going to be watching this on social media. Most likely, if you're 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years later, and you're on the greatestsalesman.com or any of our podcast sites and apps, But we've discovered something that changed the company of the Augmandino Company through a client this past year. This client was a cyber ninja DoD hacker. Literally, that was his life, working in the world of hacking. And lo and behold, we partnered with him on how to help people be more Augmandino-like on social. How do you be more genuine, more authentic? How do you get out of the pond that you're fishing in your social media following? Let's say you have 500 followers, 5,000 followers, whatever it might be, but realize there's an ocean of 2.5 billion people out there. And we literally have real-time algorithm updates for you on how to make things work better for you on social. How do you be a better friend? And as one of my distributors shared with me last week from Canada, she has so many new prospects and contacts, she can hardly keep up. So if somebody has an interest in that and cracking the social code, you can go to habitfinder.com, which is our bridge from the Augmandino Company on helping coach habits, habitfinder.com/social VIP. For a couple of $100, you can be tapping into the ocean and getting out of the pond. And so that's my little 90-second commercial, if you will.
I love it. I love it.
It's a lot of fun because I've known Dave and Paul for a lot of years, the founders and the owners of the Augmandino Company. But I've never seen them be so excited about something because, you know, you're a coach, you coach people, you're in front of rooms all the time. And if you get that 48-hour engagement and someone has a positive experience, they're going to want to do more faster. And that's the whole point of cracking the social code, is helping you have positive experiences in your social. So I got to come back to a couple things here because I'm a note guy. I sit here and take notes every week. I got the 3 things, but I think you mentioned that your mentor, I think, had 4 thoughts for you. Did you say those 4 things, or did I not write them down?
No, he told me that. He said that every individual in their lifetime will have 4 thoughts. In their lifetime, they'll have 4 thoughts that, if acted upon, would make them wealthy. The challenge is that most individuals never act upon their thoughts. Most individuals don't live in the present time, right? So as one of my favorite philosophers, he said, your life will either be defined as a memory of the past or a vision of the future. So most people, when they wake up, the first thing they do, for most people, for the undisciplined mind, the first thing they do when they wake up is that they think about yesterday, right? So they think about yesterday. So the minute that your thoughts kick in, well, your body is a pharmacy of chemicals. So the minute your thought kicks in, now your body starts to produce chemistry. Unfortunately, it doesn't produce the chemistry that you and I need to become successful. It doesn't produce the dopamine or the serotonin or the endorphins. It produces the cortisol, the norepinephrine. It produces all the stress chemicals, right? So now we wake up stressed out because we are living in yesterday, right? We wake up stressed out because we're living. And the mind, unfortunately, the mind has 3 main functions. The first main function, the mind, is to keep us alive. The second one is to keep us healthy. But the third one is very interesting. The third function of the mind is to keep us in harmony, keep our internal being and our external being in harmony. So what that means is that the mind, if we are programmed into scarcity, the mind will do whatever it can to keep our external environment scarce. If we are programmed into poverty, the mind will do everything possible to keep our external environment in poverty. So therefore, it takes discipline, and it takes, as you know, the first scroll says, it takes habitual training to wake up every morning and do certain things every morning that will put you in a state that you can go and be optimistic, in a state that you can go and be productive, in a state that you can go and be prosperous. So for myself, you know, and what I teach my team, we do certain things every morning. The first thing we do is I have something called the MVP. And the MVP stands for meditation, visualization, and prayer. So every Monday morning, I have a meditation, visualization, and prayer conference call. People jump on at 5 o'clock in the morning. No one says a word, and I speak for about 30 minutes. I walk them through a meditation. I walk them through a visualization, and I walk them through a prayer. Has nothing to do with your religious connotation. Has nothing to do with your religious belief. Visualization and meditation, right? So those are so vitally important in manifesting what you want. And then after that, I teach them something called what I call the DBA: declaration, belief, and accept. Declaration, belief, and accept. Declaration, belief, and accept. So right now we're reading Think and Grow Rich every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's about a two hour training session every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have, I don't know, 300-400 people jump on, and we're declaring it, believing, and accept it. And I tell you, and again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm telling you right now that if people want supernatural results, they must do supernatural things.
Yes.
Supernatural results do not come by supernatural results do not visit the common mind, and they don't visit the common man. Supernatural results only visit those that are willing to walk by faith and imagine things that most other people don't. And for that reason, I tell my team all the time, and I tell them that we're marketers, people are leaving lives on the streets that they could attract, but they're thinking too small. People are leaving rooms filled with prosperity, but they're thinking too small. The Bible says, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, and the mind cannot conceive the plan that God has for us. And I'm telling you, if people would only open themselves up just a little bit, I know it's weird, I know it's uncomfortable, but if they would only open themselves up for just a little bit, then things will change in the mind. So those are the things that, that's how the thoughts work. And that's how I introduce it to my team.
So let's just pause for a minute here and say hello to Anthony Arriaza.
My bro.
Elvira? Did I say it right?
Yeah, Anthony Arriaza. Yeah, let me tell you something about my brother. My brother is one of the most amazing individuals, and I am so proud of him. He has just in the last 4 or 5 months, he has lost 60 pounds. 60 pounds, yes. And that is, for those of you that are trying to lose weight, and except you, Dan, you're pretty slender, but for all the other 99.999% of the people out there, losing weight it is not easy.
No. And
Tony Robbins always says, the first thing he does when he coaches somebody is, okay, go and clean your closet and lose 10 pounds. Because if you can't control yourself, how are you going to, not that you can't, it just makes it a lot harder to do other things. But so I'm so proud of my brother. Love you, bro.
Great to see all the names. I mean, it is so great when people have family, friends, loved ones, people on their team, mentors join in and make comments on the screen. It's just fantastic. So let's see if I can't, because you've given us such great granularity. And I just love so much your MVP and your DBA, because I love your comment about the supernatural. And I know that God doesn't answer casual questions. And that's you talked about such great intention there. And I know that when you think about this, I'm wondering, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth because I've got an answer that I think I could answer the question for you on, but I'm wondering, when you reread this and you've read it so many times, is there a scroll that just jumps off the page to you?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Please share.
Yes. And the scroll is number 6.
Oh, God.
Today I will be the master of my emotions.
Wow.
Let me give you 2 thoughts. Okay. The first thought my mentor gave me was 26 years ago. He said, emotion is a conflict of all truth. And the second thought, he said, drama is emotional conflict to spiritual understandings. He says, the world is filled with drama. And I say, well, what's that? He said, it's emotional conflict to spiritual understandings. I said, I don't understand. He said, God has plans for you. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a bright future. People don't believe that. So they go into a state of emotional conflict. And what we have to understand about emotions, there's negative emotions, there's positive emotions. What we have to understand is this: negative emotions come into your being without your choice. Positive emotions only come into your being through auto-suggestion. So your mind is a receptor for negative emotions. Your mind is not a receptor for positive emotions. You must use habit, discipline, auto-suggestions to reframe your thought process, to reframe your life It's easy to think of negative things. Ask any common person 5 things they don't like about each other. They'll rattle them off. Ask them 5 things they love about themselves. They start stumbling and stammering because the mind's it's just not programmed that way. So since we know, Jim Rohn said it, he said, you must stand guard at the door of your mind. You must make a conscious decision every single moment of your waking moment and sleeping, because subconscious mind doesn't turn off when you go to sleep. You must make a conscious decision of what and who you will allow into your thought process all day long. And that's why 2 words, and these were my wife's and my 2 words are awareness and intention. You must be aware. You must be aware of your thoughts. You must be aware of how you feel. You must be aware of the words that you use to empower or disempower people, and be intentional. 2020, what I know was a challenge for many people. In our home, it was beautiful, but I know it was a challenge for many people. 2021 can be very different if you are intentional. My wife and I, we made a declaration on toward the end of December that 2021 will be our best year. 2021 will be our most abundant year. And I'm telling you right now, Dan, that in the first 2 weeks, supernatural things have come. Some results that have been extra, and I'm not talking 1 or 2 or 3. I'm talking things that have come over and over and over and over. And people may say, oh, it's because you've been doing things for the last 20 years of your life. It's possible, but people have been doing things for the last 20 years of their life. It's about being intentional. Okay. One of my friends, Dr. John D. Martini, said this. He said, you know him?
I don't know him personally, just from his videos and books.
He said, the vitality of your life is directly proportional to the vividness of your vision. Wow. He said, the vitality of your life, the energy of your life is directly proportional to the clarity of your vision. Clarity precedes mastery. So if you want something new in your life, if you want something better in your life, you must be clear. You must be clear with your intentions, because when the promise is clear, the price is easy. Yes. Never negotiate the price. Just magnify the promise.
Wow. Okay. I've got it right here. I've got this cardstock version that someday we're going to have for sale on the website. Okay. Today, I will be the master of my emotions. And I love, can you just imagine Og in 1968? He's writing the scrolls all night long, and Betty's bringing him coffee to keep him awake. He's got the book done, and the scrolls just appeared to him in one night. How do you come up with words like the tides advance, the tides recede, right? And you offer up this great scroll about being the master of our emotions. And, Jim Rohn's also got that great thing about the garden, right? You got to make sure you keep the weeds out of the garden. And basically, you've given us a great depiction because you're so intentional. I would find it very hard to believe that weeds could ever get in your garden.
Well, a lot of times, remember that the weeds come in through the 5 senses, right? Touch, see, hear, smell, right? They come in through your 5 senses. And from the moment that we're born to 7 years of age, we don't have a consciousness. So everything that comes in is part of our life script. At the age of 7, the conscious fills in. So now we start living our life. What we don't understand is that there's 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old people that without awareness and intention are functioning from programs that were given to them without their consent, right? So when I saw things, when I heard things, when I felt things, when I was young, I didn't consent for that. It was just my environment. Now, not unless you're blessed to be born in a harmonious environment, and some of you may, and God bless you, right? That's the lot that you have, right? It wasn't the lot that I have. It wasn't the lot that my wife had. It wasn't the lot that my brother had. So we became intentional. And we started, like you said, we started to work on what we really wanted. We started to work on what we wanted to manifest, and we believed, declare to believe it and accept it. We believe that if we were focused, and we had what Robin Sharma calls a monomaniacal focus, if we had that focus, right, and we didn't allow distraction to come. Remember, the enemy comes to destroy, and what he can't destroy, he will distract. So we had to remove distractions. We had to remove environments. We had to remove people, right? I'll never forget. I used to open up for Les Brown back in the day, right? And I remember one of his stories that was just so amazing. You know, he walked into this party, and there's this, you know, this joker that was making fun of him. And he said, you know, kind of a friend, he pulled him aside and said, you know, I appreciate if you wouldn't do that. You know, I mean, I'm starting up my business, and, you know, I need to keep a positive perspective of myself, right? It's just a joke. You can't take a joke. He said, well, you know, I don't want to be the butt of your jokes, right? You can be a joke. You can joke about anything. Just, you don't have to joke about me all the time. Oh, okay. He came back, you know, another day, he saw him like 2 weeks later. And again, he was making fun of him. He says, hey, I told you, I asked you, do not use me as the butt of your jokes. I don't like it. I'm asking you respectfully. He said, if you do it again, I just won't come around. A couple weeks later, he saw him, he did it again. He removed him. And he says, we don't have the luxury. Yeah. We don't have the luxury of negative associations. Yeah. We don't have the luxury of negative time spent, you know. So in my life right now, I have the blessing to be surrounded around people that either encourage me or I encourage them, right? Because I can't allow those distractions. And I know for some people it may seem very difficult to do, right? But if you want to fulfill your promise, if, you know, we all have a spiritual journey. If you want to fulfill that, then you're going to have to run a little lean, and you're going to have to really make sure that your environment, internally and externally, is in harmony with what you want.
Beautiful. You know, you mentioned Les Brown, and I turned on the holiday on Monday. I turned on. I'll watch a YouTube video a day, kind of watch something self-help positive, and just see what they bring up to me. And it was Les Brown speaking at Jim Rohn's funeral. And I was fortunate to travel the world with Jim. I just loved the man. His philosophical nature was unbelievable. And so some maybe remember the story, but they're doing a speech together. And I think he said Japan, and Les gets up and Jim's in the front row. And Jim, you know, if you're going to sit in the front row and you're at Jim's meeting, you know, Jim's going to tell you, you know, the dullest pencil in the world is better than the sharpest mind. So he gets up there and he starts doing his presentation, and Jim's taking notes. And Les looks down and he says, Jim, what are you taking notes for? It's all your material.
That's right. That's right. We all take from one another, right? That's right. I love it.
Okay, so, you know, I get this feeling with my guests. I mean, I literally got truth bumps going through all of my skin right now. I got Ron Henley on the screen giving us that great, incredible, I got to listen again because I can't write fast enough. But I wonder if we can close like this, because I'm looking at the last few words of that scroll that you bring up, where Og writes these magical words in 1968. Today, I control my destiny. And my destiny is to become the greatest salesman in the world. Mm-hmm. I wonder what that means to you, being in that hot seat. I've never asked a guest this. What does it mean to be you? You're the greatest salesman in the world. You're on the Greatest Salesman podcast. You're leading thousands of people. And this is one of your favorite scrolls, to your destiny to be the greatest salesman in the world.
You know, it's and I just refer to people and mentors all the time, because I don't want anyone listening to think that, oh, I was born a certain way. All this is taught. You know what I mean? All this is just an immersion into the desire to have, you know, utmost personal development. My mentor said this a long time ago. He says, it's not your conditions, but your decisions that will dictate your destiny. Right? And so in my life and in the life of my wife and my kids, that's very significant, because every single morning we wake up and we make a decision on how we want to live our lives. We make a decision on how we want to represent ourselves. And we fully understand that to he who much is given, much more is required. So there's a high level of responsibility in leadership. When you say the greatest salesman in the world, to me, when you say the greatest salesman in the world, to me, it represents an individual, man or woman, that has assumed a level of responsibility that most others shy away from, right? To me, it represents a man or woman that has said, I will conduct my way. I will conduct my body. I will give a presentation. I will perform. I will behave in a way that will stimulate an inspiration in other people. To me, it's not just sales per se, but it's the greatest life in the world. It's the greatest woman in the world. It's the greatest man in the world. It's the greatest husband in the world. It's the greatest son in the world, the greatest grandfather in the world. It's about really making a decision, making a daily repetitive decision, Dan, to be at your best and to also accept, right? To accept the blessings that God has in store for us. One of my greatest fears, Dan, and this came to me about 20 years ago. One of my greatest fears, and I don't have many, thank the Lord, but one thing that I think about here now and then is when I pass, and I'm, God willing, right? I'm there talking to Jesus, and he says, wow, he says, you did this with your life, but I had this, right? I had this in store for you. See, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. I don't want to regret a second. Don't want to regret a day. So therefore, you push yourself, you elevate yourself, you dig deep within yourself to do things that others don't, to be the best version of yourself. And this is what this does. This is what that gives you. That gives you a DNA, that gives you a blueprint to really take a shot at becoming the greatest salesman in the world.
Well, I want to put, let's put Mimo's Serrano's comment up on the screen if we can, to my producer here. And let's just close, because I asked you to talk about that about you. And I know that, a great person is going to truly give credit to all the other people and, of course, to God. And God is in the details. And this life is a time to prepare to meet God. And we don't want to give up any of that time. So it's great that you have friends that think of you like this. The greatest mentor in the world. And, who knows what triggered that title for Augmandino?
I love Memo.
What's that?
I love Memo. He's a tremendous leader. I love Memo.
Where's Memo live?
He lives in Mexico.
Oh, fantastic. So we got all over the world watching right now. Your friends, my friends, and Augmandino friends alike. And I just want to thank you. It's been, I would ask you more questions, but I think it's better served if I just say, I probably just need to hit replay and listen again and take more notes. And I know Veronica's mentioned many things. People said, hey, I need a mentor. Well, look, that's why the Greatest Salesman podcast is here every week, to reach out to the greatest salespeople in the world and let them share their journey. We all have one. We love everyone, and we want everyone to have the utmost best, but it's the intentional creation. And you kind of described there for a minute, a little bit about what Napoleon Hill was teaching us in the Outwitting the Devil. Really gave us some insights to that magnificent masterpiece, if you will. But Louis, in closing, I'm assuming that if people want to reach out to you, if people have questions on how they can talk to you, they can find you on Facebook at Dr. Luis Arriaza.
Yes.
And
Instagram also.
And I know you respond quickly on Messenger, and people will just totally love it. And it's just so great to have everybody here. Any thoughts in closing? But I just love having you. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's again, I just want to thank you. I want to thank Tom. There's so many amazing people that are coming into our lives, into my life, into my wife's life right now. And there's so many things that are just growing. As I said at the beginning, one of our prayers was to expand our territory. And to whoever is watching or listening, I want you to make a decision. And this is one of the greatest decisions we can make, is to make a decision to believe in yourself. Yeah. Okay. Even if no one else does. Okay. Make a decision to believe in yourself. Make a decision to read the words that God has for you. Make a decision to master these scrolls. You and God make the majority. Even if you've done it over and it's failed, done it over and hasn't worked out, done it over, hasn't worked out. understand that every person listening or watching this, God has such a major plan for your life, but he needs you to take that first step. This little kid came up to Jesus Christ. He says, Jesus, give me your faith. And then he says, give me your faith, and then I'll give you a sign. He says, no, he says, give me a sign, then I'll give you my faith. And Jesus said, no, give me your faith, and then I will give you your sign. You know, and I know in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, it's a second ingredient is faith. You know, you must energize your day. You must walk by faith. You must speak of what is not as if it is, because if we do, 2021 will be a spectacular year. Your barn will be overflowing. You will be a lender and not a borrower. You will be the top and not the bottom. And that's what I declare over everyone that's listening right now.
Wow. Wow. I'm just riveted by this now nearly 1 hour of amazing inspiration. And the origin of that word inspire is to breathe life into, and you have breathed life into many, many people today. He's Dr. Luis Arriaza. I'm Dan McCormick, and we wish you the greatest Wednesday of your life. It's been Wisdom Wednesday, filled with a lot of good, and we'll look forward to being back with you next week. Thanks for joining us for episode number 29. Thank you, Luis. Bye for now.
Thank you, Dan.